Blessed be. Welcome. So today I've been pondering, well actually the past couple of days I've been pondering a lot about being the bridge and being the bridge between worlds. And I guess you can label it as an interdimensional being. But being that bridge, that connection that holds other worlds, other life forms in harmony with this third dimension, with other dimensions, and trying to navigate that role of being that bridge. You know, we start off on this spiritual journey of awakening, and we're not learning, we're remembering. We're awakening aspects of self that you remember being in this place, being this role, being this aspect, having these gifts. And remembering how to apply them in the physicality of our being. And we awaken and we are ascending and rising to meet our soul, our spirit, to meet Source. And then you ascend to a particular, you know, I don't like using the concepts of like a hierarchy or a level, but it is, you know, you reach a particular threshold, a particular point, a dimension, something higher than what you were prior. And you reach that source, and you reach that spirit, and then you begin to embody in that spirit, and you begin to breathe that spirit, and become that spirit, and allow that spirit to move through you as a human. You know, you always hear that phrase, you know, you're not a human, or you're a human having a spiritual experience. But in reality, it gets to a point where you're now a spirit having a human experience. And it's crazy. It's crazy because you spend most of your awakening and your journey reaching this point, trying to reach spirit, to reach Source, to reach God, to connect, to come back within, to embody those aspects, to reclaim those aspects of self that you had given away, that you had forgotten. And then when you're able to reclaim those and come back to your 0 point, back to your core of essence, the rest of the journey becomes now, how do you embody spirit in human form? So it's learning to be human again, but through the eyes of spirit. And it's crazy. It's wild. It's no longer outside of self. It's no longer reaching, like, it's no longer fragmenting self. The way that I see it is when Source God, the Godhead, asked or said, I am, yet who am I? It just became that ripple, that fragmentation, that the more questions it asked, the more that it fragmented, the more that it wanted to experience self. And the more questions that we ask, the more that we understand, and we have experiences that will reflect back to us who self is, who we are at a core. And it's like, and that's the returning to Source aspect. We think we are outside of that essence, that being, but it's the illusionary layers that we've allowed to superimpose upon each other. And when you can work your way through those layers and collapse the waves of those juxtaposes, you can then fully integrate aspects and reclaim those aspects of self to become a fully individualized being. And then you come back to yourself, you come back to your source, you come back to your home, however you want to label it. You come back to your spirit and you know thyself. But it was like humans searching for spirit. Now it's spirit. You know, you were learning to work through with spirit and co-create with spirit. But then you get to a point where it's like, I am spirit. You acknowledge that and you realize that I am whole. I am the source. I am the creator. I am the Godhead. And it's like, it's not a de-evolution, but it's a descending, because you've now pulled the spirit into bodies to fully express, but through the eyes of spirit, not through the human. So it's relearning, it's learning to be spirit in human form, and that's difficult. It's difficult, and it's like, you know, for the longest time you were being that bridge and you were being that anchor, and you were connecting to these other dimensions and these higher realms and gaining this information, these downloads and da-da-da, because you were integrating, you were pulling that into your body, into your physical form. And there used to be a time where it's like you had to step out of form to experience it. And we're in a place now where it's like, no, you can experience your spirit in its fullest essence while in form, while in the physical vessel. And then it's trying to integrate and go back out into the physical dimension, the reality that is, and create within that. And it's very difficult because many of us have spent a lot of time disconnecting from the third dimension and climbing those rungs, those higher dimensional realms in seek of knowledge, of wisdom. And it's interesting. It's like, you know, many of us get lost within that trying to transcend the density, the duality. But it's like you reach a particular point when you access your core self, your core source, and can embody it. It's not like you're done at Earth School, you're done here. No, you come back down. You come back down and you walk life in that aspect. You walk life embodying that, projecting that God source that you are, that beauty, that divinity. Too many people get lost in the idea that I need to transcend this. I need to come out of this third dimensional reality. I want to reach for the stars. I want to go home. And we all do go home. And we do bridge that gap. But now you're being called and required that when you reach that full essence and individuation of your being, you're being called back down. You're being called back down to anchor it, to be it, to walk it, to talk it. Adele. To fully embody that and allow spirit to witness through new eyes. To allow your human to work in co-creating with that spirit now in physical form. And many times I liken it to the metaphor of when somebody's let out of prison. They've been in prison for so long And it's very hard for them to integrate back into reality, back into society. They don't know how to act, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, they don't know what's appropriate, And it's very hard to try to reintegrate into a world that is not your world. And we're asked as spiritual beings to allow the Spirit to move you, to breathe through you, to be the empty vessel, to be the empty reed, and allow the Spirit to flow through you, to speak through you, to express through you, whatever it is. Because there's no motivation from Spirit but just to experience what it is through this vessel. And it's just I find it fascinating. It's quite interesting. And I guess right now that's kind of where I am. Being in the in-between for so long. Between worlds. Knowing that I have a place in both. Knowing that I'm meant to reach and extend and expand and magnetize these higher dimensional frequencies and embody them and integrate them into my human form. But it's not meant for me to leave this human form. It's not meant for me to leave this human domain, this third dimensional reality. I'm meant to anchor them here. I'm meant to express them here and hold that frequency and hold that resonance. It's bringing peace. Bringing hope. Knowing that you exist beyond a density and a darkness that is perceived and created by humans. Knowing what lies beyond the veil. Knowing your connection to Source and the other dimensions, the other realms, the animal kingdom, the plants, the minerals. Knowing that we are all one and living in harmony. You're not going to transcend third dimension physically on other domains, other realms, mental plane, emotional plane. You do try to transcend the density. But the point is to reconnect to your source, to reconnect to your spirit, and embody, draw that spirit back into your vessel, and walk in partnership through this world, shining your light, sharing your wisdom, projecting your love, penetrating and affecting the molecular and cellular structure of these environments that have been distorted, and finding joy in that, finding bliss, finding more life and more vibrancy. Because when you start seeing through Spirit's eyes, the worlds that we saw that we thought were separate and above us are now within us. They're now here. We've now anchored it. And that's being the bridge. Creating the environment, creating the space, recoding the geometrical structures of the environment and the atmosphere. there's a misconception of continually raising your vibration to ascend, to ascend, to ascend. And once you ascend, it's like, oh, it's all over. It's not all over. It's an infinite loop, whether you want to perceive it as vertically, horizontally. It is a feedback system from the infinite source. And wherever you reside, you're bringing that information, you're bringing that energy, you're feeding the environment, you are feeding yourself, you are allowing that energy to flow, to proliferate the environment and the atmosphere. So if you think once you ascend, you're done, you're off grid, and you know what, that might happen. People might go off planet and whatever, but I think the key thing is we as humans who are ascending are very adamant about ascending from third dimension and going to these higher realms where this shit doesn't experience, like you don't experience it, where there is no density, where there is no polarity, and that's true. Because you learn to perceive reality differently. You see it for what it is. The point is, you've ascended to a particular, you've returned to your source. And what does source do? I want to experience more. Let's go back down. Let's go back down and create now. Let's create. You are a vessel. You are a conduit. You learn to live in harmony and co-create and bring balance to these other dimensions and these other worlds. It's not just about humanity. There are worlds that exist within this world that people forget about. Nature. Many of us are called to be the bridge, to bring through that spiritual energy and connect it and hold that frequency and bring harmony to those spaces and those dimensions. Humans are so lost in the idea that they are at top of the food chain. All of us are ascending. We're all one. We're just different aspects of the source. We're at a place now where it's like seeing that oneness, that unity, that everything is a reflection of self. If your flowers are dying, ask yourself, what is inside of you that's dying? What needs to be nourished? What needs to be watered? If your relationships are falling apart, why is that? Ask yourself, where is the disharmony? Where is there no longer a resonance of vibrational match? And learning to say, okay, this is no longer part of my environment, or I need to change something within because it's no longer resonating with me. And I want to live in harmony and unity and peace. And learning to let go of what no longer serves us. What is no longer a part of old aspects of who we are. To me, like, that's being the bridge. And we always talk about the rainbow bridge as if it's something outside of ourselves, and it's not. You are the bridge. You are the rainbow. You are the spectrum of colors, the light rays. You have the ability to embody every single one. You have the ability to embody the whole rainbow and become that bridge, which benefits everything else, seen and unseen, to be able to pass fluidly, to live in harmony in between worlds. And it can be very difficult being in the in-between, because you just want to find your place. But what if you're everything, if you were all? You don't need to be categorized. You don't need to be separated into a particular place, because you exist in all places. You are part of all realms, species. You are all of it. And a part of you and your light exists there as well. And accepting that. Knowing that you have a place within everything. It's a human thought and conditioning to separate and categorize everything and say, well, I don't fit here. Okay, yes, it's good to be able to perceive and say, I don't fit in this category, I don't fit here. This is not what I'm looking for. This is a right fit. I resonate with it. But you are constantly shifting and changing. And we're in a time now where it's like it's asking us to be completely fluid, to be malleable, to shift and adapt, and to flow through and within everything, and be able to see yourself connected to that grid, that geometric structure. And when you can tap to the grid, to that field, you can gain memory, information, knowledge, sustenance, resources. Everything is available to you when you can see you are the bridge and inherently connected to everything. Being that bridge and allowing that energy to flow through you, that God source, to flow through you, making it readily available to others. And being that conduit and facilitating that knowledge, wisdom, sustenance, love, healing, whatever it is, however you want to label it. You've become the capillary, of the root system. And you found your place. You found where your home is. You're within that system. And it's beautiful. Because you can constantly share and exchange information, love, nutrients, and the system reciprocates that to you. Whatever you need, it's available. And that's the bridge system. There's no disconnection, there's no separation. So, yeah. Well, that was an interesting little channeling or what have you, and just kind of flowing with whatever source wants to talk about, and expressing that nature of what my spirit is wishing to communicate within this now. And that's all we can do at the end of the day. Just co-create with spirit. And see the vision and bring it forward. And to anchor that vision. To anchor that energy and that frequency. To find that resonance. To benefit everyone. So, thank you for listening to my rambles. And just know that you every aspect that we are, in every expression. That's all of Source. And just be what it is that you are impulsed, your instinct tells you. That's your spirit. Your spirit wants to express it and fully embody that expression.